And we present now Thomas Drevhammar, who is an anaesthesiologist at Östersunds Sjukhus and associate professor here at Karolinska. And you are going to speak about CPAP and respiratory support.
True.
Yes.
So thanks for the invitation, and I'll try to be fast, but I'm talking about an important topic. So I'm Thomas Drevhammar, and I have Snorri Donaldsson as a close friend, and he's probably in a ward if he's not listening in Iceland. And we have experience from two hospitals. One is the Bougainville National Hospital, and then we have friends who started a project in Hanoi. And we have two incoming PhD students, and I won't mention all the supervisors, but Martha McConey and Yan Wu is examples of where we can transfer knowledge to other countries. Okay, thanks. So I come from up north where we have a long tradition of CPAP support and designing systems. I won't talk too much about that, but it's important to remember that what we use is critical to success. This was our hit list before WHO presented their list of things that they want us to work with. So the idea was to bring management and technology at an early stage to low and middle income countries and not wait for the knowledge and technology to be accepted here. And the 5 things that we saw is that for good CPAP you need heating, you need oxygen control, high quality CPAP with appropriate interfaces, you want it directly at birth, and then maybe the most difficult part is to know how to manage it. When do you escalate? When do you de-escalate support? And of course implementation and tests of these systems has to be done on solid data and trials, of course. So you're looking at the WHO guideline, it's been mentioned before, but the B section is on CPAP. You have CPAP for respiratory distress, CPAP immediately after birth, and use the standard old-fashioned bubble CPAP system that's been around for more than 50 years is the recommendation. And when you're looking at the research implementation, I didn't know that you voted for them, but I'm glad to see that you have one section about interfaces, because interfaces is of course critical if you're working with skin-to-skin care, or if you want to have a nurse ratio that's probably not as high as in our part of the world. The last part that the WHO mentioned is monitoring. And if you want solid data, you need to monitor it. And what we've seen from NEST and from working with the sepsis databases are that they're not good enough. They're not sufficient to guide you on how to de-escalate or escalate. Maybe they're good at detecting deaths, but they're not useful for evaluating interventions or when you implement things. So I think that's why there are so many will in the WH section. They say they will do a lot of things, and I really hope that they succeed. So what's the next step that needs to be taken in terms of research and implementation? So where we started is like a database-driven evaluation of interventions. So we designed our own database and collecting data right now, and the same is happening in Vietnam. And then I think that we should really stress that local expertise and experience is of uttermost importance for sustainability and to get the quality. Because we can't go there and tell them what to do or launch a trial and then come back here. So to have a long-term commitment is essential. So our WH examples are like CPAP directly after birth is not in place at Bougainville in Dar es Salaam. And I think that's one reason for that is that because resuscitation and like the immediate care after birth is in one place, and then you have the NICU care where the infant stays for a long time. And like the transition point between these are two different research traditions. So you have the ILCOR and the resuscitation team, and then you have the NICU with the bacteria and the skin-to-skin. And trying to merge in this section is quite a bit of a logistical challenge, but it's also up to us as researchers to find this common ground where they need to meet. You need to go from the NICU to be present. Going into more technical detail, both these centers use a RAM cannula. And that's a lightweight interface that is more easy to use with skin-to-skin compared to the standard CPAP system. And it's been on a massive rollout in a lot of countries, really without a lot of evidence. So pictures aren't really that good enough, but we used to have Hudson prongs, which has been the standard for like 40 years. It's a bit complex to have, and there are some risks of nasal sores, but it's now been replaced with a long, thin, narrow bore tube, and that of course has high resistance. And when you start to fiddle around with the old original bubble CPAP design, like introducing the RAM cannula, you won't have the same properties. You will gain something from the simplicity, but you will probably also lose something. And the data isn't there because we don't have the recordings we don't have solid data to evaluate this. So that's an example of where I think the basic traditional trials are really needed. So going back to our list of interventions, I mean, if you look at this, heating and oxygen control, high quality CPAP with a proper interface, direct light birth, and then the management properties. It's quite a bit of work. So the main issues to be resolved in your field or my field is like, where shall we spend our time? Are we going to spend our time on implementation? And that's what people are doing now with the RAM cannula, for example. Or are we going to do like trials instead, comparing technologies and management? Because our resources are limited as a research group, and the local resources are very limited. So do we want them to spend time on implementation or trials? And I think this optimal use of resources is highly interesting. Shall we go for humidification, or shall we put our effort into like, how do we transit from an infant that has been resuscitated to the NICU? And I don't have the answers, and I hope that people that are more experienced can provide them, because it's not that difficult, the CPAP and respiratory support thing. Difficult part is implementation, and knowing that we're doing the right thing. So thanks to all the involved researchers, not just the PhD students, and there are a lot of people, so I'm not going to mention all of this, but it's truly a team effort. Thanks.
To not postpone the Swedish fika too much, I think we move on to the next speaker.
I accept.